Welcome in. It's technically a bye week, all right? If you're familiar with how that works in team sports, this is technically a bye week on the PGA Tour. It's hard to ask Max Homa or Jon Rahm to play 5 straight weeks of competitive golf. We'll talk about both of those in a second. We welcome you to another edition of Putting for Dough, the Honda Classic, not for long, by the way, edition of Putting for Dough. Ben Rasa, of course, is here. Just double checking. I think your 2 straight weeks of hitting outrights ended last week, right? So
yeah, I did not have
okay.
Rahm.
Okay. Well, to be fair, nobody's going to take Rahm, at least that's looking to make money long term here, because the value is just completely shot. Thumbs up, subscribe at JazzRazDFS at Shander Show for me. Jordan is in the house producing, and we welcome you, as always, on the OddsShopper Golf channel. This thing is growing. It's going to become huge. It's going to be your one-stop shop for the world of golf. Let's look back. Tiger Woods, a bunch of other stuff that happened, or a bunch of great stuff that happened and Tiger Woods showed up, depending on how you look at it, Ben.
Tiger was awesome. I mean, yeah, shout out to the man behind the glass. He was there in person. Jordan told me that he was walking Riv,
Oh, wow.
checking out the site. So he saw it up close and personal. What's there to say? It was a stacked field. Jon Rahm is playing out of his mind. You know, it's tough in the betting markets because generally I'm not going to take a guy at that type of he's at major level prices in these fields, and they're major level quality. He's like 8-1, 9-1. It's really tough to get there. The guy for me that was really disappointing was Gary Woodland. Not that he played poorly. He was right there. I had a big top 5 ticket on him. I obviously outright was kind of a stretch. He came in 9th, but that was about the only positive I could spin. I was not close because Rahm just took control of that tournament.
Yeah, we got win shares on the show with Finau and Hovland top 20, unless you were betting at one book that will pay out in full. I was not, of course, like an idiot. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, it was tough. Matchups, I felt like I was either a day ahead or a day behind.
Matchups were all right for me.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
Go.
Yeah, Taylor Montgomery, I've been shorting him.
Yep.
I like Taylor Montgomery in life, but I've been kind of picking on him in the matchups market. We'll talk about Discord in a second. That's been helping sustain a little bit. I've been on a good run with outrights before this week, but poor Honda. This is a tough. It's a great tournament to talk about, but man, there's nobody here.
No, well, and that's the thing. Like, nobody here. We're going to talk about Honda in a second. We have to remind you about what's happening on Draftkings first, but let me just drop this in the conversation. Everybody is out, including Honda. Like, this is it. Honda pulled out, Ben, after this year because they're sick and tired of being the forgotten leg on tours. We now head to Florida, but we'll get ahead to DraftKings first and foremost and make you some money. This is easy. This is simple. See, the beauty of it is when we record early in the week, it's usually earlier in the day, and I know that I can throw to Ben on any college basketball game, and he's already scoured the board for his best bet and what have you on the main OddsShopper channel. But this is what we want you to do. All right. Somebody you know, somebody you live with, somebody you work with, somebody that you can't stand here and talk about, well, I should have bet this. Tell them to shut up and put their money where their mouth is, right? Just have to be 21 or older, live in a state where you can legally place a wager. And of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Ben will tell you this is the easiest thing you do. Take 90 seconds out of your life. That's all. Deposit $5 after you sign up at DraftKings, and then immediately, don't waste any time. Immediately put that $5 on Duke tonight. Money line, what do you say?
Yeah, Duke was going to be just fine. Illinois money line is going to be just fine. It's pretty simple. Go to the college basketball screen. Take the biggest money line you can find. Normally on a $5 wager, you'll get back, what, a quarter, 30 cents? Instead, you get back $150 if they win. Think about that. You're getting 30-1 on a team that normally you would get a couple quarters for. Not a bad deal.
I'm seeing this already in the chat. Come on, Ben. It's Tuesday, 9:56 in the morning. I missed Duke. Ben just told you. Yeah. Any major heavy favorite in college basketball, just don't do it in the NBA. Don't do it in hockey. No. All right? Do it in college basketball. Those teams ain't losing.
No, they're not. So it's a great opportunity. And then you can take that money, have some fun with it at the Honda, maybe.
See, you have $150 right back into your account as soon as that team that you bet on, Duke, Illinois, wins. And then, as Ben mentioned, you can sprinkle along. All right, this is tough. This is
Yeah.
a very, like, I was tempted to just say in jest, should we talk about that Netflix series, or like just use putting for dough this week to not talk about the Honda Classic? But we have to, of course. Sung J.M. is right there at the top, rightfully so. History, course history. There are a couple of little things here, Ben, that I don't know how much you're focusing on. And this is just the overall. We'll jump in the top tier in a minute. But just the course, the one actual club that I'm not paying any attention to. Do you know what it is? The one club that I could not care less about the Honda Classic today.
The putter.
No, it's actually the complete opposite.
The driver.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Really?
Now, how do you? Yes, and now I'm going to go and explain. That's a little tease for me on my end, but you are the one that we want to hear from first and foremost, just about this leg now, first leg in Florida. Nobody's here. Everybody who's here doesn't want to be here. This is a rough one. Honda doesn't want to be here, but this is a fucking difficult course.
Yes.
And it will eat you up, especially if you can't approach from 150 or farther out. Like a 210-yard approach shot, you better be deadly with your sticks.
Different type of golf, a lot of changes. So we're going to Florida. With that, you got water coming into play a lot. You got Bermuda coming into play a lot. It's just different down there. And it's a more technical layout. That's probably why you're alluding to maybe not being forced to hit driver off a lot of these tees. I totally get all that. I just look at this, a lot of different ways that you can kind of go. But I think for me, the biggest change before I even give a play, and we're going to dive into the top tier in just a second, two things. One, you have to check the weather. If it is windy, it's going to change everything about this. And we don't know that this early in the week. Keep an eye on the weather. Absolutely. And then two, I'm not saying throw recent form out, but if a guy has been playing in California and he can't putt and he comes to Florida, to me, that's a hard reset. This is totally different type of golf. So I'm willing to forgive some guys that maybe weren't playing great and then jump on them, buy low for the Florida swing.
Love that point. I think that is basically what you want as your guiding light here. This is not a place. We see this a lot in the NFL, right? A get right game. Oh man, you screwed up royally. Oh, you got an op. This is not a get right track. If you've been struggling over the last 6 weeks, if you've been struggling over your last 3 to 4 events with anything, driver, putter, approach shot, to Ben's point, this is not the place to fix it. So let's jump in, my friend.
Yeah, so the top's going to look a lot different. You know, guys that are Shane Lowry, for example, he's 14 to 1-ish. You know, he was 100 to 1 last week. Like, that's just the nature of the beast. Some of these guys are already getting bet down. I'm looking at Aaron Wise right now. You know, he's the third choice. He's 22 to 1. You got to shop it. Again, OddsShopper.com. Make sure you're getting the best numbers. But I'm just going to use DK as a reference point. 22 to 1. Denny McCarthy's 28 to 1. These are the type of guys I want to go to. All the talent. Denny McCarthy is a great putter. He's a great Bermuda putter coming to his favorite surface. He was playing pretty well out west, 4th at Pebble, 14th at Genesis. Why not here? You know, this is the type of week you're going to hear me say, why not, for a lot of guys. And McCarthy's proven he can handle it. He was 3rd here just a couple years ago. So you got him. Wise, to me, is just one of the best players in this field by default. What's there to say? I mean, the top is littered with guys that aren't usually inside 20, 30 to 1.
I'm actually surprised that, because you brought him up last week, and I think you mentioned him for both a carryover to betting and DFS. But a guy like Alex Noren at 25 to 1, I'm a little surprised you didn't. Like, look, you've got variables here with Chris Kirk, Minwoo as well, right? But Alex Noren, and maybe the point is that you're going to answer this, which is, well, if I can get Denny McCarthy at 28 to 1 versus Alex Noren at 25 to 1, it just makes more sense with the putter. That's fine. That's fair. But Noren's been gaining strokes. It just doesn't look like Tiger Woods prime.
So he was gaining strokes. There's no doubt. Genesis was bad for him. He lost 4 strokes up with the irons.
Place, right.
And that's disappointing because I thought Noren, a lot of people did. Noren was primed. to really put together a nice end to a decent swing for him. Comes to Honda, it's as simple as this, and it's the same story with every guy. Noren, I just don't like the number. I have no problem with him, but you nailed it to me. Kuchar, Denny McCarthy, Billy Ho, these type of guys you're getting at better numbers than Alex Noren, who I do like. He's got exactly 0 career wins on the PGA Tour. I know he's a prolific winner in Europe, but it's not like this guy's been there and done that. I would rather take Denny to break through than him.
6 of the last 10 years, we've had a guy win with odds longer than 80 to 1 or 80 to 1 and longer.
It's wide open here.
It is. And Sung Jae won, remind you, at 35 to 1. So that wasn't like anywhere near all those guys you mentioned, including Kuchar, who I'm going to bring up here, 28 to 1, all shorter than when Sung Jae won in 2020. So unless you have Justin Thomas or 2017 Ricky Fowler, right? Like you're not going to get a guy like this. It wouldn't shock me if Sung Jae won at the top because we have seen that a couple of times. But yeah, I'm with you, Matt Kuchar. We talked about him. I brought him up in, I forget, it was a couple of weeks ago where he just got flattened. But I think this is a perfect opportunity for him, avoiding bogeys, scrambling, just avoiding mistakes and playing this in an area, as you mentioned, where you're going to have to hit shots, uncomfortable approach shots around a bunch of water. And these are not easy shots. And so history is great. I like that. But I also want to target somebody who's been playing somewhat well. And I think Kuchar just at 28 to 1, he's in that similar range that you mentioned. He's a guy that I would highlight here. And especially when you look at gaining strokes yesterday, right? Sunday, and then also at the Sony. So I think that those are good momentum pieces this year that can help a guy like Kuchar in this specific tournament. He's not looking to get right on anything.
No, he played pretty well at not pretty well. He played very well at Genesis. I'll give him his credit. Just a weird, I would love to know, and I don't think it's the end all be all, why he's here. Like, was this something he planned? He hasn't played this he used to play this. And then he took a long break from playing the Honda. Is he saying, I want to kind of keep momentum going? Was he always planning to play this? Is it a change in the schedule for him? Because he is here and he usually is not. But maybe he says, okay, this is a good opportunity for me in a weak field to maybe get a win. You know, there's a real question. Will Kuchar ever win again? Like a lot of guys on tour, maybe this is one of his better chances.
He's a poor man's Tiger. He's only hanging around for events like this.
Very poor.
Versus Tiger for the majors. That's it. All right. Kuchar for me, 28 to 1. You had a couple in Wise and McCarthy. You know, I'm not going to knock like Wise. You're speaking to my heart like that as well. This is where it gets a little fun. Because we just mentioned that you can do pretty much anything you want here from like 45, 50 to 1 higher. And that even means if you wanted to get crazy. And to be fair, Ben is going to get a little crazier than me on this show because I was going to hit you with like a 400 to 1, but Ches Reavie didn't really work last time. So
no,
I've moved past that. Why don't you open up with your mid-range?
Yeah, I mean, again, the mid-range is just like there's 50 guys in here, and you know, you've got all different types of players from like Bez and those types, prolific putters. I think what I want to do in the mid-range is go to I'm just going to bet on talent. And what I mean by that is guys who haven't done it yet, but are young, talented players. Justin Suh, young, talented player. Nick Hardy, young, talented player. Robbie Shelton, young, talented player. They're all 55 to 1 range. A lot of them are going to flame out as they do week to week, but these guys can play. They're not as good as a guy like Thiegle, but we see this with Thiegle. Like he's flashing the talent. And Robbie Shelton, Nick Hardy, and a guy like Justin Suh have shown they can do it. It's just, can they do it for 72 holes? Well, I think they have a pretty good shot on a field like this. There's a lot of variables, but I don't know how you don't spray and pray in this type of range. I mean, if you've honed in on someone, I can't wait to hear it. I have not. I'm really going to cast a wide net in the mid-range.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've got 2 guys that one is right there with Suh at 55 to 1, and I'm looking at what he's been able to do this year. I'm targeting Ben Griffin because of the success that he's had gaining strokes, especially in the approach range. Putting is not hurting him. And looking at Bermuda putting, let me just clarify that. strokes gained, ball striking as well for a guy. And this is to the field. Like, I'm looking at Ben Griffin to the field. I'm not looking at Ben Griffin to last week's field, right? Because I think that's a mistake to make, is just look at what Ben Griffin has done overall. No. Let's benefit from not having Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, et cetera, in this field. Griffin just rates, and he's been playing well enough to where he's been gaining strokes for the most part. He's a guy at 55-1 that I looked at, again, if you're talking about scrambling as well, and these 125 to 200 range, 2+ as well, but you're really going to have to be accurate with, as you mentioned, Ben, wind and water, the two W's there. So Griffin at 55-1 jumped out at me. And then look, I know that he's a guy that you like to talk about, and he's a guy that's probably burned you more than not, but avoiding mistakes to the field. I'm talking about to the field. Bogeys, like avoiding bogeys and scrambling. EVR at 80-1 all of a sudden becomes a little interesting. And maybe that is more a little spray and pray of how I've opened this thing up. But I think EVR is also like Ben Griffin in that range of how he matches up to the field. He just hasn't done it like Ben Griffin.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing I like about EVR is that it wasn't that long ago that EVR in majors was around this type of, like elite fields, Memorial, and things like that. Yeah. EVR is battle. You could say what you want about him. His game is not in great shape. He's played against the best in the world a lot. In Europe, here, WGC, like the Honda is not a big thing for him, whereas some of these other guys, just getting in these events and playing is important. EVR is kind of in a different stage. I just can't figure him out. His putting has been atrocious, and all these guys. I think the mystery for a lot of them, because we don't have sample, like, will Justin Sue like Bermuda? I don't know. We don't have a huge sample size on if he likes these surfaces. Like, if these guys are from California, you just don't know. And I think that's something we have to blindly back with some of them. You just hope you get lucky with a new surface.
Top 10 players in strokes gained approach to the field. EVR right there at the top. It's something where you can, and again, it's probably a mistake in a field this wide and this long of long shots, pardon me. And we'll get to that in a minute.
He was 13th at the Players last year.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like, if you can avoid mistakes, I think you can get around being short off the tee. I think you can be around, you can get around certain things. And I'm not saying that specifically to EVR. I'm just saying, like, areas that don't hurt you but could help you, I don't think impact you if you're not making mistakes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Mean, that's the fundamental element of the game. I understand that, but easier said.
So that's a larger, that's a larger topic to me. There are a lot of guys that they come from the Korn Ferry Tour, and their mentality, rightfully so, is I have to shoot 20 to 25 under to win this tournament. Yep. And what comes with that? Attacking the flag, making birdies. Then there's a mentality of guys, particularly in my mind, Europeans, who are coming from there and saying, my mind is don't make any doubles. Don't make mistakes. Get up and down. Save for par. And at Honda, I think it tilts the scales more to that mentality. If you start going for all these flags, you may make some birdies. You're going to make an 8 somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere you will make a triple. And that is going to be really tough to overcome. So I think bogey avoidance around the green, things like that are very important here.
Well, yeah, I mean, the bear trap, right? That's where you're going to get caught. Those 3 holes there. What is it? 16, 17, or 15, 16, 17.
Every freaking don't get me started on. No,
what?
You're right. I just the bear trap, the snake pit. Every course in Florida's got an animal themed stretch.
Murfield, right? They Qual Halo, yeah, they all quail.
I don't have time for the bear trap, but yes, there's a difficult stretch, no doubt.
That's what's going to get somebody though, right? Like 100%. that's. And you almost feel better, like if you have. Look, this is just hyper strategy here. But if you had like a 2-ball, or if you had a matchup and it was somebody coming Korn Ferry versus a European guy, and this was round 3, round 4, and you knew that there was going to be some pressing versus smarter play, you may want to defer to who could benefit the most. Like that's going to kill somebody right there. Those 2 par 3s with the water around it, that's instant death. Instant death.
Listen, the windier it is, the more you should up around the green and the decrease irons. Because if it's super windy, it's going to be hard for anyone to really smoke on the approach. If it's target golf, you don't need to scramble. If you hit all the greens, it doesn't matter. Just lean on the approach. That'll be my strategy at least.
You mentioned the Discord about what you were doing with the matchups, and we always love to do this. And you, myself, Lindquist is on there. I mean, we're all on there, but as far as from a golf standpoint, it's a lot easier as you get later into the week. Tee times come out, weather comes out. So the easiest sell on this show for the Discord is, hey, come be a part of what we're doing overall. Come hang with Greg. Come hang with Luffy. Come hang with the three of us that was just mentioned. And more, of course, Narco Cop MMA. Isaiah's on there from the written side. Gajeski for college hoops. We have a ton of stuff happening. But even with golf, we do the show early in the week. We give you our early leans. And then we have so much fun talking on the Discord about, well, tee times are out, weather, all these different things that impact bets, live betting, right, Ben, as far as matchups, two balls that would throw out day 2, day 3, what have you. So many opportunities to be involved. And the best part about it, I see this every day, Ben. Every day somebody comes in and says, man, this is just so much fun. This is just such a great part of the community. I don't know anything about betting. I signed up from the YouTube video, but this just, it seems fun. And it's cool to see that.
It is fun. It really is a fun time. And listen, we're all there to make money. We're going to work on, trying to find edges live, doing all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just really fun to root together. We all have a ticket. We're sweating, and that's what you get. You get a sense of community, and that's what we've always preached here at OddsShopper and OddsShopper Golf. So if you're looking to get in, click that link, get in for the 50% off, and try it out. If it's not for you, you spent a couple bucks on your first week, no big deal.
Yeah, it really is. It is fun, and there's no ego. I don't want to harp on it, but we go back and forth. Sometimes it'll be, myself and Lindquist have an opposite ends. It'll be somebody in the channel. We have people throw out their own picks, their own parlays. It's madness, but it's fun. It's a fun place to be. That's the biggest thing. All right, this is going to be, speaking of madness, this is going to be carnage here, but it's going to be mostly Ben wielding the sword of death, not usually me, right? Where it comes from. So have at it. So you're probably gonna hit somebody here at 150 to 1, but have at it.
It is the week to do it. I'm just gonna practice what I preach, really, is that to me, you can take it a couple different ways. You can bet on blind talent, Corn Ferry guys we haven't seen, or you can bet on, to me, typically Europeans that are more not stable but have a lot of experience. Russell Knox, 90 to 1. Been here, done this a million times. Russell Knox thrives in this type of environment. He's Scottish, but he's a Florida guy for many, many years. We've seen him. He doesn't drive it far. He wants to play on these type of courses. This is the perfect setup for him. Now, will he play good? I have no idea. That's not the point. At 90 to 1, we know that he can do some things pretty well. And I think seeing miscuts in Phoenix and Genesis isn't really a deterrent. The Florida swing is where this guy thrives. He was runner-up here. He was third here. He is a top 10 at the Players. This is the type of area. And then Dylan Fratelli, as I've always said, is kind of just a random number generator. He can come out of nowhere and win. He can miss the cut by a million strokes. He lost 4.5 strokes at Genesis. This is the exact thing I'm talking about. Well, that's a different surface. That is not Bermuda like this. He comes here, maybe it helps the putter. The rest of the game looks fine. 130 to 1 on a winner on tour already. He's played the Farmers Honda 5 years. Come on now. A little Fratelli in my life never hurt anybody.
Ever. I will never. This guy's going to win the tournament, and I'm going to have to make a public apology. He's a bozo. Come on. I can never put money on this guy.
He is a Dylan Fratelli.
I love it, though. And he's going to win. You're right.
He won at John Deere. He's got 2 top 5s at majors. And then when you watch him week to week, you're just like, how is he on the tour? Because he misses the cut the majority of time. And all of that is true. I can live with it. That's the type of guy he is.
I just don't know how often, and I hate to say this because it's going to sound slanderous, and it's not the case by any means, but the appearance week to week is like a guy in the 72nd game of an NBA season in the second quarter where he has to go out there because the backup guard got into foul trouble. And it's just like, dude, do I really have to be here? Like everybody in Utah Saturday night. Like that's what I'm saying.
Was rough.
That's all I mean. All right. I get what you're saying, though. Metrics work for Fratelli on a bigger stage. And he does come here. It's not like Kuchar. To your point earlier, Ben, this is not Matt Kuchar where you're scratching your head asking, why is Dylan Fratelli playing this event?
No, not at all. Listen, the thing about Dylan Fratelli on the DFS side and things like that, it's a different conversation because stability matters. But if you told me, for example, just to illustrate the point, that he's going to miss every cut on tour, but he will win once a year, he would be the most profitable bet you could make because he's 130 to 1.
Right.
Who cares if he misses the cut every other tournament? He's got a lot of that in him. He'll give you a couple sweats a year, peppered around dozens of missed cuts at times.
Fair enough, my friend. I think.
Where are you going? Because there's about 500 guys down here, and I know you're, this guy. Where exactly? How bad is it going to get here? Do I need to brace myself?
No. Okay. So this is, again, a similar scenario without the win, right? That you can see. But swing season was just fine. We talked about Grayson Sigg a couple of times in swing season. It was fine. All of a sudden, Sony was like, but he makes the cut. And then 2 of the last 4, he's missed the cut. And then even at Pebble Beach, Pebble Beach is Pebble Beach. Like, I don't put a ton into that, but Waste Management, bigger field, bigger event like that. It's just like, dude, you're hanging, you're barely surviving. And then last week was just onslaught. Like, Grayson Sigg is not meant for, not this year, at least for the Genesis, but 100 to 1. And as I checked on DraftKings, he's actually now down to 110 to 1. He matches up with the areas that I was looking at for both Ben Griffin and Matt Kuchar. The only thing that's different, Ben, besides Grayson Sigg, with Grayson Sigg, is that he doesn't have the results. He doesn't have the top 15, the top 20 results since the calendar has flipped. He struggled in these events out west, Hawaii, and then California. But when you look at approach, when you look at strokes gained in that area and Bermuda putting on that, Sigg to the field should stand pretty strong here. So, 110 to 1, I'm going to take a shot, but I'm going to aggressively look at him as a top 40, top 20 candidate too.
Yeah, and again, make sure with guys like this, you want to shop the odds. I haven't looked at every book. He could be 150 to 1 somewhere, 80 to 1 another. Like, they're crazy spread. So that's really important. My one comment with Grayson Sigg, I think he's a guy that I will put an asterisk with and say wind dependent. And what I mean by that is if it's calm conditions, he has shown real splits to easier courses. If it's a torture chamber, I don't think he's going to survive. It's really difficult. He seems, in his young career so far, to like to play where you can attack. He's a good scorer at times at the 3M, at Sanderson Farms, RSM, John Deere. These are not difficult tracks. Honda's a lot tougher. So if it's calm conditions, Grayson Sigg as a dark horse, top 20, top 40 guys worth a look for sure.
Look, we talked about that bear trap and how guys can at times become aggressive and it gets caught up. But if you have the ability to be accurate and to stick some of these shots, you can score. These are not
absolutely
exactly right. This is at 17, right? So all I'm saying is that there's an opportunity maybe for a push on Sunday to move from 43rd to 28th or from 40th to 19th, what have you, with some aggressive play. All right, final card. Let's wrap it up, Ben. You first.
Yeah, again, I think you can almost make 2 different cards with an if statement that says if potentially windy and if potentially calm. But guys like Denny McCarthy and Russell Knox will be on there, but Aaron Wise, more for outright winners. And then bet on talent, bet on narratives as you go down deeper. Justin Sue, Nick Hardy, Knox, you mentioned EVR, Fratelli. These are flyer type guys. I'm not saying put them all on your card, but for me, couple guys up top, not Sanjay. If he wins, I'll shake his hand. Great player, but not betting him inside 10 to 1. And then as it gets deeper, Don't be afraid to really go for it. This is a wide open tournament. Win equity is distributed all across the board.
Simple for me. Kuchar, Griffin, EVR. I'm going to ladder Griffin and EVR. I'm definitely going to go 40, 20, 10 for Grayson Sig. I might, if it's calm and beautiful out, I might take a shot at a guy like Grayson Sig, first round leader, depending on when he's teeing off. The one name, real quick on the way out, because I think there is a way to play him. Because I think he's being shorted a little bit because of what's happened recently, where we haven't quite seen the same Shane Lowry. But at 14 to 1 outright, I'm not going to play him, Ben. But I feel like there has to be a way, because Lowry is being like, the odds for Lowry at 14 to 1 are a guy who has struggled that seems to be back on the right track. But if Lowry is on the right track, not only can he win this tournament, as we talked about scrambling and approach shots, what have you, I feel like there has to be a way to play Shane Lowry. That's all. Just on the way out, something quick if we can.
Yeah, I mean, Shane, listen, he could have won this last year. He's an elite player. If it's difficult, he's the opposite of Sig. If it looks like it's going to be crazy windy, fire up Shane Lowry. The guy is the best at that, maybe in the world, at playing at nasty conditions. What I'd say for him, I think it's okay to say, if he starts fast, I'm boxed out. But if he doesn't, I'll pick him up live, maybe at 20, 25 to 1. Even after a couple holes, a front 9 where he doesn't do anything. It's a long tournament. I'm not going to take a position on him at like 14 to 1. I'm just not. But he could end up on the card. That's the beauty of the golf tournament. It's 4 days long, and you can get all sorts of positions.
Another reminder, hit the Discord. Hit DraftKings too.
Yeah.
Hit it all. Hit Ben on Twitter at JazzRaz.
Hit the outright. That's what we really need to hit, is the actual outright winner here, and we'll be off to the races.
Absolutely. I think, look, if it's Dylan Fratelli, I'm taking a week off. At Shander.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do the show solo.
I know. You're rooting for Fratelli even more now.
Yes, I am.
All right. Thanks to Jordan. As always, for you out there, thumbs up, subscribe. Let's grow this OddsShopper golf channel together, and let's cash some tickets, even if it's Dylan fucking Fratelli.
My man.